You guys can see this?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get started then.
All right.
So, I'm going to be telling you guys about my summer at the Rocky Mountain Biological Laboratory, and this is in Gothic, Colorado. And that's me holding a marmot. I studied marmots. So how I got involved. So about like over a year ago, I started emailing professors about just getting involved in research at UCLA in general. I had started as pre-med and then got confused about what I wanted to do, wasn't really into pre-med. And I was like, oh, ecology and like animal behavior sounds super cool. So I was like, I'm just going to email these professors and tell them what I'm interested in, and then hopefully get involved in something. So I got involved with Dr. Blumstein. He's the marmot guy at our school. His email address is like literally marmots at UCLA. He's really funny and really cool, and he loves to help out undergrads. So I felt really fortunate getting involved with him. So I did about 2 quarters of just doing lab work, like sorting out marmot poop every day in the lab, looking at blood slides. It was a really good introduction to what research is like and what work goes into like getting all the data you need and publishing a paper and stuff like that. I also went to the lab meetings every week and just learned a lot about all the doctoral and master's students and postdocs in the lab and what they were doing. So I feel like that period of time really elevated me from not knowing what I wanted to do to learning a lot about ecology, animal behavior, and what goes into producing a paper. And then after that, I started my own project. So in a lot of professors' labs, I think, or at least in Dr. Blumstein, you start off doing lab work, learning about the lab, learning about what they do, and then you'll get your own project. So mine was about marmot sociality, the social environment, and how it influences marmot masking. So I started working on that with a PhD student, and then I started looking online about things I could do over the summer. I used this website that I screenshotted right here, the NSF website, to look for an RU that my PhD advisor was telling me to look at, because that's what he did during his undergrad. And he went to like the Galapagos Islands, on like some islands that people aren't even allowed on unless it's for research. So there's some really awesome opportunities you can find on here. I started looking on there, but as you all know, the school we go to is on the quarter system. We don't get out till like mid-June. So a lot of the RUs start when semester system ends. So like May, June. And so it's really a bummer that our schedules don't sync up. So I emailed my professor about that, asking if he knew of any opportunities that work with our schedule. And he offered me the Rumble position. So yeah, I got it just through working with a professor for about half a year and getting to know him and getting involved in my own research. And then it just kind of worked out, which is great. You can also apply to the RU program at Rumble through this NSF website or through the Rumble website. So Rumble, this place is awesome. Here's a little baby marmot, really cute. I got to hold it. It's really fun. It's in Gothic, Colorado, which is like the most beautiful place I've ever been to. I went during the summer, so not too cold, but during the winter, it's like a major ski town, I guess. Yeah, I worked for about 3 months. Right after my finals ended, I drove out there. And it was pretty crazy with COVID. I had to quarantine and everything, but I just felt really lucky that it worked out. I studied marmot sociality. I did a lot of field work. Yeah, I worked 6 to 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. We only had 1 day off, so it was very, very intense. And on top of that fieldwork schedule, we were also processing samples in the lab. And then on top of that, since I was an REU student, I had to work on my own paper, my own research. I had to interact with the other REU students online in these classes, and I had to prepare for a presentation at the end of the program. Yeah, we did field work doing behavioral observations through scopes and binoculars and stuff. And we trapped and handled marmots. And I also got a stipend for this, which is, I think, typical for a lot of NSF REUs, which makes them really competitive. Yeah, so through this opportunity, I am working on publishing this paper. It's not published yet, and I had to give a presentation. So yeah, this is my research. I learned a ton about just the process of formulating a paper, all the work that goes into it, data analysis and everything. And in my progress of that, I had to present it to the Rumble scientists via Zoom. So pros and cons. It was a super valuable experience. I got a stipend. I also got groceries and transportation covered, reimbursed. I learned a ton of skills about writing, about research, data analysis, field work, processing samples in the lab, like making blood slides and separating fecal samples, and also how to create an effective presentation to talk about my research. And that was super rewarding. And I got to interact with these cute guys, which was awesome. And we didn't have time off often, but on our 1 day a week, we would go do cool things like climbing mountains and stuff. Some cons were I couldn't network with all the scientists at Rumble due to COVID. We weren't allowed to like meet people. And also the capacity of Rumble, I think, was lowered a lot this past year because of COVID. So it was like half the people that would normally be there. And it was really long days. I was so tired. It was very stressful sometimes, but I think it was overall very worth it. So advice for people looking for internships. I would say to look online, look at the NSFRU website, talk to other students about what they're applying to. Check our Slack channel. We have a channel for opportunities. If you're applying to REUs, focus on applying to fewer and make them quality because they're very, very competitive. So you want to put all your eggs in one basket, kind of. Reach out to professors and just get involved with them. Get to know your PI, go to lab meetings, ask questions, and try to get involved in your own independent research. Thank you.
Yay, that was awesome. Does anyone have like any quick questions for Sophia, or we can save those for the end too?
Yeah, we can do most questions at the end.
Okay, sounds good. All right, then I think our next speaker is Claire, and she's going to talk about her experience at California State Parks as a park aide. Yeah.
Hey guys, I don't have a PowerPoint, but I just put together some photos, so I'm going to share my screen so I can show those. Let's see. Can everybody see those all right? Yeah, okay. So yeah, this summer I got the opportunity to work as a park aide at now Diablo State Park in Northern California. And so I've actually always lived in the Bay Area like my whole life. I mean, before coming to school, but and I border like the state park, so I've spent like a lot of my time here as a kid and stuff. And that's really, I think, what got me like interested in majoring in environmental science is like seeing the park and how much it's been a part of my life. And then like with the wildfires and everything that have been happening in California, it really made me want to study environmental science. So um, I would say I applied for this job on Cal Careers. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It's the website with a lot of like state park jobs, or yeah, it has all the state park jobs and pretty much just jobs that are being like advertised for the state of California to work for the state. And so there's like a lot of different parks all throughout California. If you want to be a park aide, you could definitely apply on there. I think it's super easy application process. Um, and one like word of advice I would give is to just be persistent. I applied for to be a park aide in around, I think it was during spring break of last year, and I didn't hear anything back. So I was like kind of discouraged and stuff because I don't know, it's always been like my dream to work in a park. It just seemed like a really cool experience. And so then when my internship got canceled for last summer, I was like, I'm just gonna apply again. Like, I don't know, there's nothing that'll like hurt me by doing that. And so I applied again in like June of 2020, and then I heard back like a week later that they wanted to interview me. So if anybody's out there looking for jobs or internships right now and you're feeling discouraged, I would just recommend to like be persistent, keep applying for those things that you really want to do because you never know how it'll turn out or if they'll get an opening or anything. Um, so yeah, pretty much my job in the park was to work one of the entrance stations. They have like two different ones at the park. And pretty much you just like work the cash register, you tell information to visitors about the park. It's like fun job if you're into like trails because there's a lot of hiking trails that you need to know about to be able to tell people. And I know this is the Ecological Restoration Association, so if you're into ecology too, it's a bonus. You have like free time to go outside, look at all the different like plants at the park. We also have tarantula season at ours, which is always fun. We get like a lot of people that come through asking about those. Unfortunately, I was at like school for most of tarantula season, so I did not see too many, but yeah, that's a fun bonus. I would say this job was like really great for improving my communication skills. It's not like as in depth like Sophia's opportunity was, because you're mostly just like talking to visitors and things, but I think it's also like a great networking opportunity if you're looking to like connect with other, like we have environmental scientists in the park. There's like interpretive aides who I'm pretty sure they do like educational events for kids. And so I guess like that wasn't super relevant this summer because a lot of that got canceled, but hopefully it'll be up and running again this summer. So if you're looking to network those kinds of people or just get more communication skills, I would say this is definitely a great opportunity and I would recommend, applying in an area near you. It's also a paid position, which was pretty nice. And it's seasonal as well. So I worked during the summer, but they can keep you like on the timesheet. So I went back and like worked there during winter break. And so it's just nice to like have that opportunity to like come back and work if you end up not getting another like opportunity the next summer or something. Um, let's see, I can just go through and show you some of these photos. That's like one of the views from the south gates. It's really fun to like be able to work like super early and like at sunset. The park opens at like 8 in the morning and closes at sunset. And so like it's really nice being able to like see that view driving up in the morning and like coming home too. Let's see. This was praying mantis that was on the door when I opened, which was pretty fun. That's what I was talking about. Like you get to see a lot of critters and stuff at the job. Here's another photo at the other entrance station. In our park, there's actually like ranchers that have their cattle there to keep the grasses down. So it's always fun to see those. this is like an abandoned resort on the park, which is kind of crazy. And my first day, the ranger like took me there, and I got to like walk through all the areas that like and people don't even know it's there, so it's kind of crazy because there's like no graffiti. It's just like how it was when it was left there. That's me in my uniform. And then I think I also have a video of a rattlesnake. Let me go back.
No, not
No! Sorry, that's my voice. Anyways, it's always exciting, you know, keeps you on your feet. You gotta look out for anything that's gonna be there when you open and close. But yeah, I would totally recommend if you guys have any questions about the job or like applying to them, feel free to ask me them afterwards. But yeah, it's a pretty chill position, but it's a great opportunity, like I said, to improve your communication skills and network with people if that's what you're looking for. Yeah.
Thank you, Claire. That was awesome.
Thanks.
I guess our last speaker is Rhay. So she's going to talk about being a restoration ecology intern in Santa Monica.
Okay, so I'm just going to preface this that doing this makes me so nervous. So the more casual it is, the better I'll do. So if you have a question, just unmute yourself, type it in the chat. I love to hear it. Let me share my screen. Everyone can see that, right? Can I see like thumbs up and stuff? Okay. So let's talk about internships. Let's just start by talking a little bit about myself and my interests, and then it'll make more sense when I talk about the internships that I wanted to do. I was involved with the Sustainable LA Green Challenges for a few years. I started as a scholar and I studied coastal sage scrub plants and examined the effects of urban heat islands on campus. And I loved the program so much that I applied to be a project consultant. And I led a group research project where we just studied a lot of things about California least terns and crows. So this was a cool research opportunity that I obtained from just like applying from the My UCLA portal. And I feel like it really helped me refine my interests in ecology. And I also worked as an herbarium technician at the botanical garden, which helped me, it provided me with a foundation to learn about like plant taxonomy, systematics, community composition. And it also just solidified the fact that I really do love plants. Like there's so much you could study in ecology. And I'm kind of, it might be naive of me to say that I'm a plant person solely, but I really do love plants. Maybe I'll study and work in another field, but working there really solidified that passion of mine. And then I'm also the president right now of the Ecological Restoration Association, and that's me and Val in that picture. Yeah, that's just a little bit about myself. And let's get started with the first internship that I ever had. So I was an intern at the Native Plant Nursery at the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. So that's just the name, SMMNRA, but it is officially with the National Park Service. It's a really well-rounded internship. I had like 3 supervisors, the restoration ecologist, the nursery manager, and the park botanist. So I got to work a little bit with all of them, depending on what my assignment was during the day. And I learned really different things from each one of them that I'll get into a little bit later. But I interned for 6 months, full-time throughout the summer, 40 hours. The shift started at 7 and I live an hour away, so that was brutal, but it's worth it. And it is nice to be up that early in the morning. And then once the school year began, my schedule was flexible enough that I just kept going part-time. And if you have the opportunity to make your internship longer, I really recommend it. Like I kind of didn't want to because I was exhausted. It was a lot of work, but I'm so glad I did because I just got to learn so much more than I ever thought I would when I extended my internship. And these pictures are, let me see if I can do like a little pointer thing. Can you guys see the pointer? Okay. This is an herbarium specimen. This was a workshop that I led regarding how to mount an herbarium specimen, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. These are the GPS units that we used. I had never used one before. They're pretty easy to learn, but it's a cool skill that you can put on a federal resume, that you know how to use like a Garmin or whatever GPS. This is Artemisia, I think, douglassiana mugwort, and this was my first day actually. What were we doing? I think we were just repotting them. So I just thought it was pretty to see all of them on the table. And when you step away from your plants, you have to cover them with soil. So I felt like I was tucking them into bed. I like that. This is the binders that you use when you check out a government vehicle. Something that I didn't know about the internship was that there is so much traveling, and it's not like you're driving for hours, but like you can go to a different site every single day. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were gonna give me a driving training, be like, do you know how to use 4-wheel drive? No, I don't. I'm a terrible driver. I hate it. But they put me in like huge ass trucks, and I was just, I don't know. It forced me to grow is what I'll say. Yeah, I drove government cars. I got to visit so many different sites on their properties. It was really fun. I learned so much. I really was forced out of my comfort zone. And that's just a little thing. Like I had to drive for the internship. And I'll talk a little bit more about what we did day to day. So like I said before, I had 3 different supervisors, and we did different things with each supervisor. So this first bullet point is just like nursery maintenance. You know, we would sow seeds, or we would bump up plants, meaning you just put it into a bigger pot so the roots have more room to grow. We would go on seed collection trips, which was my favorite part of working for the nursery. A seed collection trip is basically like you show up to work and the nursery manager is like, go to this site and then go to this one, and here are the GPS points for the plant populations I want you guys to look at and collect seed from. And seed collection or seed collecting is actually much more technical than you would think, because the seed collections that they use end up being used at restoration sites. So they wanted to make sure that you're collecting from enough plant individuals that you're getting a lot of genetic diversity. You're collecting just enough to have a high enough number of seeds that you can help restart a healthy population, but not too much that you're decimating the population. So like I learned all of these formulas that you have to do when you want to do a seed collection or conservation. So that was something that I was really interested to learn about. And then of course, there's just always the really general skills, or the general things that you need to do at a nursery, like watering, cleaning, stuff like that. And this is the nursery. It's really beautiful. This is the Rancho Sierra Vista site. Every single day I would just get to stare at these mountains and handle plants and just live my best life. And then this bullet points, this is the work that I did with the park botanist. We would survey dirt roads and trails and points of entry, so like trailheads and parking lots, and we call them DRTs and POEs. And essentially what you do when you survey a DRT or POE is the botanist at the start of our internship, he gave us a list of 25 invasive species. And he said, you know, make sure you can identify these, you can recognize them when you see them out in the wild. And here are some GPS points. I want you to survey the polygon surrounding that GPS point that I gave you and tell me exactly where those invasive species are. So I learned a lot about data collection and plant identification, and I hiked a lot. It was really fun. So that's DRTs and POEs. That's the work I did with the botanist. And then restoration was obviously with the restoration ecologist. And that entailed preparing sites, as in like weeding them like we do, or we used to at art Euro events. They would auger a site, and an auger is like a power tool that you use to drill into the ground because the soil can be really compact. And if you want to plant something, you can't really do it with just your hands. You have to use power tool, which was cool. I didn't actually get to learn them, but other interns did. So we would have outplanting events once the restoration site was prepped properly. And at a restoration event, we would actually plant. So these are just all of the trays that were growing at the nursery that we ended up planting on this hillside at a restoration event. It was really fun. And then lastly, we have herbarium work. So this right here is an herbarium specimen. And I took this picture of a seed because it fell off of the specimen and I was going to save it. I thought it looked really cool. But just to give a brief introduction to what herbarium work is, throughout the year, staff and interns, when they go out on fieldwork trips, they will collect a plant specimen and then they'll throw it in a press and let it dry so it can be flat like this. And then eventually the specimen is supposed to get mounted and you're supposed to add a label with all of the important data regarding this plant. Like, where did you find it? What was the day that you found it? What is the phenological phase it's in? Like, what kind of habitat was it in? And herbaria really just provide really in-depth detail on plant communities all over the world, really. So this is where I learned a lot of like classical botany skills from, being a technician at UCLA. And when I started my internship at SAMO, they had like presses full of specimens, but no one really knew how to process them. And when I joined as an intern, also TAC, I think he's here right now, we had like a lot of experience working as herb techs, and we told our supervisor there, and he was like, okay, we're gonna get you guys in the herbarium once a week and you're gonna process these specimens for us. So we did all of that work for them. We even developed really in-depth protocols on how to continue processing herbarium specimens correctly for after our internship ended. And I feel like they just really recognized how valuable herbaria are. And they were so appreciative that they ended up offering us jobs, which is like the best thing you can get out of an internship. So right now I'm hired through the Santa Monica Mountains Fund, which is one of the partners of the National Park Service. And I go in part-time, it's twice a week, it's really manageable for a student. And I get to do herbarium work like this, and I get paid for it. Like, I don't know, it makes me really happy. So yeah, I'm part-time, seasonal employee. Yeah, so other job duties include plant population scouting, which is as fun as it sounds. He'll give you a trail and say, look for the species for me, and like take notes on the population. I haven't done it yet because I just got hired, but I'm looking forward to it. And then, just more general herbarium processing that I was talking about before, and outreach and education. Something about herbaria is a lot of people don't know what herbaria are. I didn't know what one was until I started working in one in college. And with the interns that are at SAMO now, a lot of them didn't know what they were either. So my role is really going to be to educate people on what herbaria are, why they're so valuable, and how to develop the skills that you need to make a good herbarium collection. And this is another internship that I started very recently. Yeah, I started like last week, so I can't really say much about it, but I get to work really independently. I don't really have a supervisor. They kind of just emailed me a timesheet. They said, here is the site that you work at. We want you to weed this, water that, whatever, and just do it whenever you want, and then just fill out your timesheet and turn it in. Yeah, can't really say much about it, but I don't know, if you're in the area, sign up for it. It's open and it seems really low maintenance and easy. So I'm going to be doing like general maintenance, like I mentioned, just weeding, watering, making sure the plant populations are doing well. And all that they ask of their interns is that you complete 50 hours, and you can do this at your own pace. You can finish it in 2 weeks if you want. I plan on stretching it out from January to March. And this is a map of all of their properties that you could go to restore. And I have a slide about finding internships, because a lot of people, when they filled out the form for this event, they were asking about it. So read your emails. Basically, like as a UCLA student, you can sign up to join any listserv you want. Like I'm in the EBE listserv, the IOES listserv, the geology listserv. And if you read your emails, you'll just get opportunities flooding your inbox all the time. And if you read them, maybe you'll find something that you're a really good fit for, that you could possibly obtain, whatever. I browse LinkedIn a lot. That's actually how I found this position, the next one, the PVPLC position. I just saw a listing on LinkedIn, and yeah, sent in an email. It was a really easy application. Social media, I actually follow a lot of botanists on Instagram, and I'm in like the California Native Plant Society page on Facebook. If you join a lot of groups or pages related to your career interests, you'll inevitably scroll upon cool opportunities that people like to share. And like Sophia mentioned, we have a Slack channel dedicated entirely to opportunities that we share a lot of things in. And oh yeah, casting a broad net. This is really important. I really liked the advice that Sophia had about, putting forward quality applications for REUs instead of applying to like 30. And when I say cast a broad net, I mean you should apply to more than just REUs, because those are really competitive. I made the mistake of applying to like 10 REUs for a summer, and of course I got rejected to all of them. They're super competitive, but you can apply to REUs. You could also apply to, intern for SAMO. You could join the Bay Foundation or the Student Conservation Association. There are so many different opportunities, and you'll have a much better shot at finding a good internship if you apply to a variety of different ones. Yeah, all of these positions are open right now at the Santa Monica Mountains and the PVPLC. We'll share these slides on the ERO website so you can get these links. And okay, this slide, I can't in good conscience talk about how amazing internships are and how happy I was to have learned so much without also addressing that unpaid internships are inequitable, period. Like, we need to use our platforms as era directors and people who are privileged enough to be pursuing education at UCLA to combat these issues. So something that I kind of recognize that I could do is have candid and progressive conversations within our professional networks. So when I was interning at SAMO, I would talk with my managers, and pretty casually, because I had a good relationship with them, about like, hey, it's not good to have unpaid internships. Like, what are you doing now to help create a more equitable future for people who want to enter the field of ecology? And I had those conversations with the ecologist, Joey, that you all met from our career talk. And, they are working towards making the field more equitable, but it happens slowly. And as long as we're talking about it and we're addressing it, we can only improve from there. So that's just a note regarding unpaid internships. And closing advice to, land yourself the role that you're looking for is, and I heard all of these pieces of advice from various mentors and career talks that I've been to through my time as UCLA. Just show up, be present. Like, your professional network will develop so naturally. You'll just meet people who you will get along with purely because you have similar interests, because you went to events that you were interested in. Like, so if you're here as an ERA member, good job, you showed up. Hopefully you'll learn a lot from tonight, but I would encourage you to go to ESN events, ERA events, career talk events, like, try to be well-rounded. And if you're at all remotely interested in it, just show up and be present, and you'll find that your network will develop naturally. Err on the side of awesome. That's a quote that the restoration ecologist says. And he was talking about it in regards to a resume workshop that we had. And he means that basically don't undersell yourself. Like, you're a UCLA student, you're an ERA member, you're already so awesome. Like, don't beat yourself up about the fact that maybe you don't have a lot of experience, or maybe you think that this internship you had years ago isn't important. Like, err on the side of awesome, because you are. And regarding a lack of experience, when I was a freshman, and even I didn't have good experiences on my resume until maybe like the second half of my third year of college. Like, it's not too late. Like, don't beat yourself up if you haven't had that internship that you're waiting to get, and if you're applying for things and you're worried that you don't have experience, just be yourself, show how earnest you are to learn. And this advice about, showing how earnest you are to learn, I got that advice from Dr. Scheib. She's the professor for the Sustainable LA Grant Challenges. And she's actually the person that reviews all of the applications for the students in that program. And when I asked her, like, what are you looking for when you're looking at those applications? Like, how do you decide who you accept? And she says, because a lot of those students don't have experience, because you're supposed to apply for that like early in your career. She says she really appreciates seeing when people are just eager to learn. That's the best thing you can do. Have a good positive attitude and show that you're actually interested in what you're applying for, and avoid being generic. That's it. Rejection is okay. I've been rejected to like 20, 30, I don't even know, so many different things. And I'm not even embarrassed, because I know it's a universal experience. So, like Claire said, be persistent, like, keep trying. It's okay when you get rejected, just try again, and you will find the internship that you want, or the research position that you want. And if you have more questions, or if you want advice on like the grand challenges or research or whatever, anything, you can email me. I'm always happy to chat with ERA members. And here's a link to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I think that's it. That's all from me. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Rhay, and everyone for sharing. I guess we'll open it up for questions. I have a few that you guys have submitted when you RSVP'd, but if anyone has any like new ones, feel free to unmute yourself and ask them, or type them in the chat.
I have a question for Claire about the hours for the park aide. And also just like, was it like 5 days a week? 8 a.m. to sunset, or what?
Yeah, so it's like pretty flexible. Like, they're willing to work around your schedule, like whatever it is. But during the summer, like, I was good with working full time because I didn't like have anything else. So mostly like on the weekdays, it's 10-hour shifts. So it'll be like 7:30 to sunset, which gets like later during the year. But So yeah, 10-hour shifts usually during the weekdays. Sometimes it was like half days on the weekends when it's super busy. But generally, yeah, that would add up to like 40 hours a week. So you would work less days if you're working weekdays, and then more probably if you're working on the weekends, just because those are less hours. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
Mhm.
Okay, I guess I have a question. I was wondering what an REU is. I had never heard of those before.
I think the acronym stands for Research Experience for Undergrads or something, through the National Science Foundation, I believe. So like all different professors at different schools and also different programs or lab stations like Rumble will advertise their REUs on the NSF REU website that you can just browse through and see little descriptions of them and like all the info about each one.
Okay, well, I guess I can go through like the list of stuff. I think a main question that a lot of people asked was, how do you find internships? I know you guys gave a lot of tips on that, but I don't know if you have any more resources or anything.
I know of a really good job board if you're looking for like wildlife internships. I don't know if you guys have heard of like the Texas A&M like wildlife job board, but I can post the link to it in the chat. Let me just find it. But yeah, that's super helpful if you're looking for like ecology ones or like research. I feel like they have a lot of those kinds of opportunities. And then, I mean, just another way to find things, I was just like think of like connections you already have or like places around you that you could like do an internship with. I don't know, like that's why I thought of the park, is because like I'd always like had that connection there, and I think that was like part of what helped me get it, is because I like have been going there forever. And yeah, so just like finding those places that you're already like kind of connected to is a good way.
Just, talking with your peers and with the people in your professional network. I heard about the Santa Monica Mountains internship because like one of my friends was enrolled in that. I don't know what the class is called, but it's the one for life science students where they want to help you develop your professional skills. I don't know what it's called, but they had a lot of speakers. And he told me like, hey, we have a speaker coming from the Santa Monica Mountains. Like, it sounds like you'd be into it. And this was during COVID, so it was just a Zoom session. So he just sent me the link. I sat through the class, and like while the person was still doing a presentation, I was so interested in it that I just emailed him then and there, and then turned out pretty well.
This question I really liked. How do you stop yourself from getting overwhelmed while searching for internships? I think I can relate to that a lot.
That's hard. I think for me, like balancing school and like applications and extracurriculars is really hard, but I try to focus on like the ones I want to do most, and really put like all my time and effort into those. Um, yeah, I think that's it. And just like general self care, make sure you take care of yourself and do the things you need.
I think it's also helpful just to know, like, if you can gauge how competitive the different things you're applying for are. Like, if you know this, like, maybe don't apply to a million things that you know are super, super competitive. Like, try to space it out. Like, apply for like the most important competitive ones that you really, really want. Apply for a few that you think you have a better chance, and then apply for something that you're guaranteed to get. I don't know how you would know that, but volunteer positions, people are always looking for volunteers. Something about SAMO, which is the Santa Monica Mountains, they accept interns whenever they need help. And they'll accept you if you have zero experience. They'll accept you if you're college graduate and you're just like between jobs. They're really like, they will take you on as long as they need help, which they often do. So apply to SAMO. It's a great time.
Another question was about how do you ask for a letter of rec for applications? And I just also like to add on to that one, like, did you guys have to have letters of recs for what you applied for?
My job that I had over the summer didn't require one, but I have applied to like ones that have, and I would just say, like, I don't know if you're looking in the future to get one, like be sure to like be in contact with professors or like TAs that you like have a good connection with, like in a topic you're interested in, because I feel like that's definitely a good way to get them. Or just like networking with people that like are in fields similar to yours, I would say too.
For my positions, I didn't need letters of recommendations, but I did need references. And depending on the working relationship you have with the people you want to be your references, like some people are okay with like, you can use me as a reference without telling me, it's fine. But some people you kind of need to email them ahead of time, like, is it okay if I list you as a reference? And then after they respond, you send them your resume, and just to make sure that they know what to talk about when they do get that call from your employer. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let them know ahead of time if they require that notice. Basically, there's a lot of like different professional whatever mannerisms that you're supposed to follow when you're looking for references or letters of recommendation. But in summary, you just want to make sure that you're giving the person that you're requesting a rec or reference from enough notice, that they know enough about you, that they can speak positively about you. And that's also like, this is all advice that I learned from Dr. Shipe from the Grant Challenges. You can ask someone if like, do you think you can speak positively about me in regards to a letter of recommendation? Because ask them that, and if they tell you no, it's like, okay, never mind, don't give me a reference. But if they tell you yes, then it's like, yeah, let's move forward with this. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I feel like a lot of people get nervous when they're speaking with professors or TAs because there's that weird like authority disparity, but just be polite, ask the questions that you have, and move forward from there.
Yeah, my situation was very unique as I was already like previously working with the professor that I did my internship for. So I didn't need a letter of rec, but when I was looking for REUs, I had reached out to him in advance, like a few months or a month or two in advance, just asking if he would be prepared to write me a letter of rec for any NSF REUs that I applied for. I just think it's really important to like ask them far in advance so they have time, because these people are like incredibly busy. So yeah.
One thing I have for the people that I have as references is I try to have like a variety of people that'll speak highly of me. So I have Dr. Littman as a professor because I've worked really closely with her. And like I love her regardless, but that was one thing that I really kind of did intentionally was I wanted to have a professor like from school that I knew personally that could talk about me because I didn't talk to any other professors. I was too shy. And even now, I'm very afraid to ask for letters from anyone. And I have work supervisor from my last job, loves me. So I have work professor. And then anytime you volunteer somewhere, like volunteer communities and like local organizations, they're so eager to like help you in any way that they can. So a lot of places that I volunteered with, even though I don't usually end up asking them, they'd be willing to, like Stacy from the Audubon Society. I've only met her in person like 4 times, but I help out so much that she just thinks really highly of me. And then I also had the graduate student in my research lab as well as the PI. So even things that like you're not super involved in, like if you just have a bunch of different types of people, it really helps, because if you're applying for like a wildlife job and you have a few experiences in that, then you already have those people to have reference you in.
How do you manage if like, because I'm applying to like 5 different things right now and like they all need letters of rec, but they're all like a little bit different. So how do you, like, I don't want to be like, can you personalize 5, but how does that work?
Depending on who you're asking, you can ask that, like, can you personalize 5 for me? Like, when I was applying for things while I was a scholar in Green Challenges, I had a mentor that I worked really closely with. Like, emailed him like almost every day, saw him almost every day, and he was a really cool guy. He was a postdoc, and when I told him, or I didn't even tell him, actually, he approached me saying, if you need a letter of recommendation for something, or like for multiple things, let's do it. But the thing that you can do to avoid that guilt of asking for a lot of that person is to make it as easy as possible for them. Like, I gave him a spreadsheet and I highlighted how each letter should be different. And I also had the deadline, and I would remind him ahead of time of the deadline. So if you're like really on top of it, it's okay to be asking for a lot, as long as you do have that good working relationship with the person you're asking for this from.
And I would also say, like, I don't know who the people that you want as your references are, but like as my work supervisor, I had her as a reference more to show that like I'm always on time. I'm always willing to like go the extra mile. I'm competent in like public speaking and stuff like that. Like those are essential. Sorry, I have my retainers in. Those are essential skills for like any job that you'll have. So no matter what the job is, since it's like ecology related, per letter, I just have to have her change like who it's to.
I think the last question that I have in this little thing is how long you should stay in an internship. And I think that doesn't really apply to like Sophia's thing because it was like a set amount of time. But I don't know if Rhay or Claire, you have anything to say on that subject.
Wait, what was the question? Was it how long you?
Yeah, like how long should you stay in your internship?
Do you have something to say, Rhay? Sorry.
Yeah, I will say something about the Santa Monica Mountains that I've noticed is because the internship that they offer you is initially 3 months, but then they give you the option to extend it for another 3 months because they love when interns extend. It's someone who's going to continue working that they don't have to retrain. Like, they love it when you extend. But something I know of the people who did extend their internship to 6 months, a lot of them fell into a working position. Like, for my position specifically, it wasn't really an established position, but the supervisors were so happy with the work that we were producing that they found funding and they were like, let's make them a position. But also, places like the National Park Service, they partner with a lot of different organizations that provide them with funding. So I'm an employee through the Santa Monica Mountains Fund, not the National Park Service, because they're federal, they move really, really slow and they have no money. But they have a lot of different people that they get grants from. So they get grants from SAMO Fund. That's where I'm hired. They get grants from, the Resource Conservation District, and they can hire employees through there. They have so many different partners that I don't even know who all of them are. And they have so many employees that come from those different partners. So as long as you've been working there for a long time, sometimes you don't even have to apply. They just say like, hey, I know I'm going to get funding in a few weeks and you've been a great intern for 6 months. Do you want this position? Like, I could talk about how it's also inequitable, but it's also just like a pro tip, I guess. If you can intern for 6 months and you're looking for that position, it might fall into your lap.
Yeah, mine wasn't really like super advanced. So I would say that like, I mean, some people do it as like their full-time job, but I mean, it is a good like thing to do to like keep doing it after just the summer. I feel like it was like good to say that like I've worked in the summer and then I came back and worked there in the winter, just showing that like you're committed to it. So like if you don't have any other opportunities, it's definitely nice to know that there's like a backup option to always like go back and be a park aide since that's an option. But yeah, I feel like it's like a stepping stone kind of. So like it gives you like good skills to like take on a more advanced internship.
Well, that was all the questions that you guys submitted. So I don't know if anyone else has any questions for our 3 awesome panelists. But if not, you guys could always reach out to them via email after this or send any of your questions like my or Athena's way and we can send them on to them. So
Yeah, and we'll be posting this recording, so you guys can always access it. And I think Rhay said like she'll send your slides so that you can see those links that she had on there.
I'll also probably just paste the links that I had in my presentation in the Opportunity Slack channel because I feel like that's more convenient. So join the Opportunity Slack channel if you haven't yet.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you all so much for coming, and thank you to our speakers again. That was great. Everyone does such cool things.
yes, and Michael just said, perfect for tomorrow. If you've thought of any internships you might want to apply to, there's a resume and CV workshop tomorrow, which will be an awesome resource for you too. So you can go tomorrow.
They really go hand in hand. That is so nice.
All right. Well,
All right.
thanks for coming, everyone. All right.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.